welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
And I'm Jeff, and we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, Jeff and Nelson, not live to you. We're live for
pretty close to live.
Episode 8 recap.
I think it's called Lord of the Tides, which is like the title.
Makes sense.
The Lord of Driftmark.
6-year jump, I think I saw on Twitter. A lot of spoilers out and about on this episode. Just trying to find my way around.
I really like this episode. I've been avoiding spoilers ever since you convinced me. So here's the thing: based on like the timeline in the book, they shouldn't be able to jump more than 3 years here, right? Based on how far they've gone. And what I got for time jump is we saw that Rhaenyra and Daemon had 2 kids.
Yep, and a third on the way.
But their youngest, Viserys, had like long hair. So he looked like a year old, right? Like the baby that they're like showing Viserys. How old's that kid?
I don't know.
I'm saying take 20 months, add however old that kid is, and that's how long it's been. You know what I mean?
I could say probably a year. Just thinking.
So 20 months plus a year is 32 months, which is how many years? 2.5 years. So that makes sense. Again, I think it's closer to 2.5, 3 years. I don't think they can go more than 3 years.
Yeah, okay. I guess so.
Right. About 3 years. I think it makes sense. If they're trying to stick to book timeline, again, they're moving a bunch of stuff around, but basically everything starts kicking off by a certain date. And if they're trying to keep it before that date, they can't go 6 years.
Like I said, I've been trying to hide from the spoilers too. Sometimes you just like see a picture and it's like, damn, okay.
I will say the age jump of the kids seems more than 2.5 years, right? Like the Aemon, the kid who lost the eye, seems way older than
Aemon. Looks like he's a pretty badass looking character.
He's so badass. He's so cool.
He is so badass though that he makes Aegon look like a bitch.
Yeah, Aegon sucks. He's like a Joffrey.
Aegon looks like a bard. He looks like a bard. Like he should be playing the music. Like Aegon.
You're saying just physical appearance.
Physical appearance, like. Aegon looks like all he does is sit in his room.
I've definitely said in previous episodes that Aegon, up to this point, like not including the episode 8, but before that, he's just like, he's not really a bad guy. He's like not a nice guy, but he's just like a douchebag. He's
just kind of worthless. I mean,
he's a douchebag, but he doesn't do anything like it's like all victimless crimes.
He's a Johnny Jerkoff. Is exactly
jerking off out the window is a victimless crime. Especially like it's gonna land on a roof. It's not gonna land on something like.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He just doesn't care.
This episode, he has a not victimless crime. He just rapes this girl, right? Like
So they didn't just come out and say it? Like, why were they like just because they didn't want to put it out there?
I don't know. I think the way they conveyed it was better, and like the whole like don't say it, it's not technically true type. I think that's kind of what Allison was going for. You know what I mean?
Right. If you don't put it out there, then
I've been a pro Allison person up to this point because like you might not like. Yeah, she's not like the most likable person, but like by the book, she's like Stannis, right? Like
sure,
she's following the rules. And my thing is people don't like Allison. Again, not including episode 8. I thought like basically in the end of episode 7 where she grabs the knife, she's going a little crazy there too. But for the most part, Allison is just like, cool. I'm cool with Rhaenyra being queen. My problem is her kids can't be
the heir.
Can't follow her because they're bastards.
Right.
So like that's her whole problem. It's kind of like Stannis. It's just like, sure, people might like Renly better, just like they like Rhaenyra or they like Jace better than Aegon. But Aegon should be Rhaenyra's heir. Right? Maybe not anymore. Right? Now Rhaenyra has children with Daemon, which changes everything.
Well, here's the problem: is that if we're talking, hold on. If you illegitimize her children, then you also
make her a traitor.
You make her, she is now. Yeah, she can't be the heir. So I mean, they don't go hand in hand. You can't go Aegon and Rhaenyra. So
that's the problem. So So just to clarify. Her 2 new children that were born in between last episode are Aegon, which is super confusing now, right? Because now Rhaenyra has a brother, Aegon, right? Allison's son, and she has a son, Aegon.
They're all the prince that are promised.
The book refers to these two as Aegon the Elder and Aegon the Younger. So for now, I think we're good to just talk Aegon because he's like the only one that's doing anything as the older one. But like we're gonna have to start going Aegon the Elder and Aegon the Younger.
So let's jump in. Good episode too. I really enjoyed it. I don't think the new Aegon looks anything like young Aegon. Like I'm just not getting that like for all of the characters that look a lot like their younger selves, I don't know. Like this Aegon looks a lot different.
Yeah.
But everything else looked pretty cool. Like the young Lena children.
Just in general, like, did you like this episode? Again, like I feel like I have the post episode. I feel like I always ask questions and answer them before I let you answer.
Yeah, you always do that.
But I feel like I always have the post episode high, and I'm trying to, like, we haven't been rating the episodes. I kind of want to go back and like watch them all like after they've all come out and be like, okay, here's how they kind of stack up. But like, right, I feel like this episode is awesome. There was a couple times where I was like getting teared up. Like that only happened one time before.
Well, that just happens every time you watch Game of Thrones for the first time.
So that's only happened once so far this season. It was when Lena was dying, and it wasn't that much. It was like I was getting barely teared up, but there was a few times here, like in the feast, and when Viserys walks in the throne room. Like I don't know, that was a cool scene.
Well, if you ever let me talk, I would talk too.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
What I was gonna say was the best part about this episode was Viserys walking in the throne room. Like that was like, damn, like this guy's came to play. And then like when they're actually for like the 2 seconds of the dinner that they're all kind of like smiling, and for that little bit of time it like didn't matter except for Aemond, who was just mad at like wants to kill Viserys.
He's the worst. Aemond's the worst. Like again, like I was hoping that they wouldn't make Aegon is kind of the worst. Like he kind of seemed like what I'm getting from him in the show now is what I kind of got from him in the books, right? What I got from him up to this point, like before episode 8, it's like, yes, he's a dickhead, but he's not really a bad guy. He's just like a douche who like doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. But like now he's like actively like raping people and just like everyone else is having a good time and he's gonna ruin the dinner part. You know what I mean? Like fuck Aegon. I was hoping they weren't gonna do that and like they were gonna give him a little more likability, but it seems like no, that they're going fuck Aegon. Like
yeah.
Fake Aegon.
But no, good episode. Some really cool parts to it. Not like super flashy, but you could just see like every step and turn was a changing kind of the tides of strength of this soon to be war and the politics surrounded by it. I mean, just right from the start, like Corlys possibly dying right now because of a wound. If he goes out like that, I'll be pretty upset. I thought he was a pretty cool character. I mean, if he dies, he dies. I don't know the history. I have no clue. I hope he doesn't, because I think he's a cool character that doesn't deserve to die off screen, if that makes sense. But
yeah, so yeah, this is where because that's where we start off, right?
Yeah.
As we're getting news about that.
I actually thought, and I don't know why I was confused, I thought it was Rhaenyra being told like that Laenor I actually like died. I was kind of confused at the start, and then I was like, oh shit, all right, this is Corlys.
Because it starts off with a woman saying like, it's been 6 months since I've seen my husband or something like that.
I think
right?
she actually, did she say 6 months or a long time or yeah.
Which means it could be like Rhaenyra saying that about Laenor because
right.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like everyone thinks he's burned. Like what's this guy talking about? But then it makes sense, and it just the Vaemond dude just, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that Vaemond was that ballsy the whole time with all the people around. Like the guy just didn't give a fuck. The guy thought he was going to win. He was going
to win if Viserys didn't walk in that throne room, right?
Well, I mean, even right here, like he had to be conspiring already with like Alicent, so a couple things. He's like, one, he's calling Jason, Luke, and Joffrey a bastard right in front of Baela, right?
Yep.
And Rhaenys, like just ballsy words.
Yeah, and he's the one, like to your point, the other point, he's the one who tells us the High Towers are in charge now, right? They're like, It's not the king anymore, it's the queen. And that I was tells like, us we're like,
I feel bad.
For a second, I was like, wait a minute, are they like is he talking about like Rhaenyra being the queen? But then like that doesn't make any sense because like she's supposed to be the queen after Viserys, right? But like that doesn't make any sense because that wouldn't be good for like what Vaemond's talking about here, right? So it's clearly Alicent.
Right. Yeah, I mean it was clearly, and we haven't seen Viserys die. I'm assuming Viserys dies at the end. Let's just throw that out there. My guy's gone
at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I could see them like he's not like making it much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if the beginning of the next episode he's alive for like a scene or two.
Yeah.
But I was wondering the same thing as you. Like, are we seeing this guy anymore, or is this it?
And from there, do we go to Dragonstone then? Jace learning High Valyrian.
Before that, the Dragon Mont, like the actual like volcano. Daemon is like climbing down in there. He comes out with 3 eggs, Cyrax. So there was a big question of like, This was a scene in the trailer, him like pulling the egg out of the goop, and people thought it was a cut scene. People thought like, why the fuck did they cut this scene? Because we already had a scene with Damon with the dragon egg.
Seen it yet? Yeah.
Well, because we had Damon with the dragon egg in like episode 2 or whatever. Exactly. So they're like, wait. So yeah. So that's what this is.
Pretty cool. And he has gonna have 3 children, right? But at some point he's gonna have 3. So
yeah, because he's got 2 and one in the oven. And he finds 3 eggs. That's kind of what you're saying there, right?
Do you know if these other kids, the Aegon, the young one, and Viserys had cradle eggs, or were there no eggs to be had at the time?
I'm not gonna say anything in case it comes up later. Or
these 3 eggs are fucking Drogon, Viserys, and Rhaegal.
That is a point in Fire and Blood, but those are different 3 eggs. There are 3 eggs that get stolen and taken to Bravos. That like are pretty much like everyone thinks.
One's eggs. Black and crimson, and one's cream with gold, and one's green with yellow or whatever.
Yeah, that's the whole Alyssa Farman thing for anybody who's read Fire and Blood. It's not really a spoiler if you haven't, because it's 100 years before this or whatever. But
yeah, so he gets the eggs, and then they go in, and Jace is learning High Valyrian. Before
that, right, he gets the legs, and then somebody brings him a letter, which
is Baela,
right, who's his daughter.
Baela's
who's
just
the ward.
Do you think she was informing, or do you think
this wasn't a letter she was supposed to send? This is a letter that I'm sending Daddy to let him know.
Dad, shit's going down. I need your help. It's kind of weird. Yeah. This is the first time I think we've seen a girl go be a ward. I was just trying to think of all the times we hear about.
I'm sure we've heard of wards before, but you're right, off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
Was Arya taken to King's Landing to be a ward? No, she was still with Ned, type of deal.
Like maybe Elaine, like Sansa's cover in book 4 and 5, like maybe she's technically a ward to Lady Arryn, but she's no, that's not true, because her dad is there. Because she's Littlefinger's daughter.
I feel like they just send the girl off to get married. They don't send the girl off to get trained.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's definitely times where they take, like, King's Landing has taken, like, lords' daughters as, like, cupbearers. Like in the second Dunk and Egg book, whatever that lord's name is. It's not Sir Eustace. Yeah, Sir Eustace Osgrave. After the Blackfyre Rebellion, he has to give his daughter up to the kingdom. And I think he says, I went back later to see her and she wouldn't even talk to me or something like that.
Yeah,
she might have been in the Sound Sisters or something. I'm not sure.
All right.
But yeah, next thing we're learning Valerion, and I like older Jace and Luke.
I do too.
But it seems like he hasn't been learning for very long. Like Jace seems like a cool guy. Like he seems like a little bit too much of a tryhard for my liking, but I feel like a lot of people are gonna like Jace, right? He's kind of like a Jon. Like I don't like Jon because he's a little bit too stuck up, but a lot of people like Jon.
Yeah. Was there a little bit of Aegon jabbed at him for being gay? Like.
I think just calling him like a virgin basically that's what I got from that.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's like, virgin, you might actually get some pussy now,
right?
You have to because you're like getting ordered to basically.
Right. I didn't know if it was that or like him just being like a bitch and not being able to like pleasure a woman, or if he was trying to like. But then like they wouldn't make a jab that Laenor was his dad and gay because they don't think it was his dad.
It also doesn't make sense. Like I feel like there was no age gap. Or like a very little age gap between them.
And now they look super young.
And now there's a huge age gap, right? Like Aegon and Aemon seem way older now.
Aemon looks like he could be Daemon's brother. He looks like he'd be Daemon's brother.
And he's younger than Aegon.
Yeah. Aegon looks young. The guy playing Aegon looks young. Aemon looks like a fucking grown man. Yeah. Which is kind of weird. But all right. So, and then we see Joffrey's
there too.
Which he doesn't come along to.
I'm not sure if he does. He doesn't do much. He might be sitting there at the dinner table. But I don't remember. Viserys says his name at the dinner table, but I don't remember.
He does. Somebody says his name, I don't think they ever pan to him, and he's like in the scuffle. You don't see him there. I don't know. It's kind of. I'm thinking he's going to be a pretty minor. Maybe he's going to be not a minor, but it feels like Joffrey's getting pushed to the back burner here.
Well, it's one of those things where like Rickon, not that like Rickon is ever
the
major,
third son.
But he grows up a little bit throughout the series.
Yeah.
Daemon shows up and basically tells Rhaenyra about the letter, or I don't know if he like says it, but he says there's problems. Daemon's on his way to King's Landing. Rhaenys is flying. Yeah.
And we do hear that Rhaenys does think that they killed Laenor.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of what we mentioned, like, oh, they're going to talk about us doing this on purpose.
Again, if you go and listen to the montage like one of the complaints I had was they do this thing at the end of episodes sometimes where they cut between a bunch of cool stuff happening while someone's giving a cool monologue and you don't listen to the monologue because you're watching too much. If you go and listen to what she's saying, she's basically saying like she's like, I don't want to be a tyrant, and Damon's like, yeah, but there's some good things about people fearing you.
Yeah.
And then at the end she's like, well, they're gonna think we did it anyway. So, like, yes, we're going to fake this, but they're going to think we did it anyway. Best of both worlds. I'm not actually a tyrant, but they're going to think we are.
Right.
To that point, I want to clarify. I might not have said it in the last one, but I was kind of like, I'm anti-Rhaenyra now. Like, she's like, oh, I'm going to free my husband, but I'm just going to murder this random guy. Like, fuck, like, a person still got thrown in that fire. Like, they murdered somebody. Yeah, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? She didn't kill Laenor. She's totally fine. Like, she murdered somebody. Like, she still killed somebody.
I've said it for weeks now. That these characters,
I don't like anybody.
You don't need to like anybody. Like, I'm still watching it. I think Damon's now my favorite character.
But I'll sometimes catch myself rooting for something, and I'm like, fuck, no, I'm not. Like, I call myself rooting for Rhaenyra in the throne room, and I'm like, no, I don't like Rhaenyra. She murdered that person last episode.
Yeah, I don't really care for any of them. I really don't. At some points, I'm questioning who Alicent's really like. Now she's got this whole Faith of the Seven thing going on, which I think we see soon. Did she start that religion? Was that religion a thing? Like, it's first.
No, so yeah, like Hightower. The Hightower is in Old Town, which is the center for the Faith of the Seven, right? That's where like the High Septon is. Like, the High Septon is in King's Landing.
And the Maesters are both there in Old Town?
Yes. So those three are kind of like assumed to be all in like a big collusion group, kind of.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks like she almost like took it for her sigil.
Well, to the whole Alicent point, the next scene is we get to King's Landing and she's sitting in the king's chair in the council room. Gives like big Cersei vibes, right? Beesbury's going off about something nobody gives a fuck about.
Beesbury just motoring on.
But like, you got some respect for Beesbury because there's a point where like they don't openly say it, but they start like throwing shade at Rhaenyra, and he's like, "Wait a minute,
what's going on? She's the heir."
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they're saying, but that's pretty much what happens. He's like, "Wait a minute, no."
It was basically like he was like, "Wait, Luke is the heir." Like they've already claimed Luke to be the heir, and that's when like the Lannister guys like, and whoever is now next to, I don't know, whatever like. Old Man Strong was before he was Hand, whatever that role is.
Master of Laws. Yeah, so that guy's name, his nickname's Ironrod. Wild. His last name's Wild.
Whatever. It's unimportant, but they're like, wait, we can't have Luke, a child with the biggest fleet in the Seven Kingdoms and running our navy. We need to have somebody that can run this thing and really, we need to have someone that's in our pocket, not in the green pocket, not the Rhaenyra pocket.
And Beesbury's like, wait a minute, that doesn't matter. What matters is like the rules. Yeah. And they're like, shut up, you're old.
Yeah, go to bed.
We also hear that like somebody comes in and says like, hey, Rhaenyra got here, and Otto's like, oh, I hope they were greeted as I instructed or whatever, which was just like with this low.
I think it said as befit their position.
Yeah, but he also like admits to being behind it. Like, I'm the one who ordered that they were basically greeted by Lord Caswell, who's a fucking nobody, basically.
This is the second time people have been greeted by nobody. Pretty cool. Like Viserys to Driftwood.
Because the second time he gets greeted by Laena. Last thing is there's this guy, Sir Eric. He's the one who comes in and talks to Alicent on the way out.
Right. There must be a twin. Yes. Eric and Eric.
Exactly. Yes. And I love these guys. Sansa has talked about these guys 2 or 3 times. There's a song about the twins, Eric and Eric. I'm not going to tell you anything about the song, but
okay,
if you go back and read some of the stuff Sansa said about them, there's some spoilers in there.
I definitely won't be doing that, but
yeah. But I was like, Sir Eric was with an E.
It was funny because I have the captions up. Like, if I didn't have the captions up, I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? But I see it was Eric with an E and Eric with an A.
It sounds the exact same. Yeah, it's so hard to talk about him, Eric and Eric. But yeah, Eric,
what was that mother? That mother had to be drinking during her pregnancy.
So I think it reminds me of, I think it's a callback to Lady Olenna in the books has 2 bodyguards who are both 7 feet tall, and they're twins. She can't remember their names, so she just calls them left and right.
Oh my god!
Whichever one's on her left
Lady
side,
Olympus, goat.
She's a goat. But I think when Jason and Luke go out into the yard, there's two Kingsguards sparring when they first walk out before Christian Cole, and I think it's those two.
Yeah.
I think it's those two. And last thing I'll say about these two, because I geek up about these two.
Go ahead.
They're actually played by real twins. They casted real twins to play these two, unlike
the
there's twin
twins,
Lannisters,
which
exactly.
makes no sense why they couldn't have casted two twins. But
I don't know if we've ever said this too, but that's Sir Hugh from the
we've definitely said that. We've definitely talked about that.
Yeah.
All right, so Eric, whatever one, A or E, I think it was A, gives her the news that something happened to in the princess chambers.
Yeah. Also, you know who this reminds me of is we had two. I know we're trying to keep it short, but we had two twin football players,
Giovanni and Giovanni.
Gio and Joe. The thing is, their names are too similar too. Like Gio and Joe. Like we called them Gio and Joe, which were easy to distinguish. But what's their real names?
Giovanni and Giovanni.
Yeah, like fuck that. Like you're just fucking with people at that point, and they looked exactly the same. The only way like I could tell them apart was their fucking earrings, because one would wear black earrings, and one would wear.
Nah, I was really good at being able to tell them apart.
I could not tell them apart at all, and coach would fuck it up all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. You probably just called them by their last name, so you didn't have to guess.
Yeah.
But so this is when Diana is brought into.
Before we get Allison with them, we actually get the Daemon and Rhaenyra walk in to see Viserys for the first time, and I think that's a really cool scene. He's in the bed. First of all, when he comes in wearing the mask, I'm like, why is he wearing the mask? Could you see the holes in his face? Like,
no, it was covered in cloth. He had like a white cloth over his face.
On it. That's right. Because when he comes in, I'm like, wow, that mask looks badass, but I don't get why it's there. And then when he takes it off, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I was spoiled on the fucking mask. I saw a picture of the mask.
Really? I didn't see that at all. Damn. I need
to stay off Twitter. Fucking joke.
Be better.
Trying to just scroll through my day, and I'm seeing spoilers. But yeah,
I really like this scene where they go in. Daemon is clearly really uncomfortable, right? Like Rhaenyra walks
doesn't even want to see him. He looks so much older than him. Like we go back to episode 1.
He's
and
like 51, 52 here, maybe.
Yeah. He's not
like Viserys.
Like he's like 75.
He's getting fucked up.
But I guess 51 is pretty old for this time period. I know a couple of them lived really long, but he's super uncomfortable. Rhaenyra's like, please help us. Like we're gonna be shut out if you don't do something. And he's probably high or drunk on milk of the poppy. I don't know. I guess it's medicine. You're probably high, but
yeah, Damon's like sniffing it, right? He's like, give me the tea, and Daemon gives it to him, and he drinks it, and Damon's like, the fuck? And then they kind of call Allison out on it later, like, what the fuck? Yeah,
like you're doing this on purpose to keep him in bed. Yeah. And he could be ruling right now, but you got him all hopped up on milk of the poppy.
Also, it's just badass that Rhaenyra and Daemon named their son Viserys. Like they named their son Viserys. Like,
after him, yeah.
It's got to be after him, right? Like,
and just like a great line, like a name for a king. But he's like,
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, he's like, it's a great name for a king. But he's like 5th in line, and who knows where he ends up. I'll be curious to see if there's another time jump where we get.
Well, we got a couple seasons.
Yeah, who knows if they get slaughtered in their crib in the next episode or not, but yeah. So
then it goes to Allison. Yep, with the maid.
All right, so Allison and this girl, we find out that Aegon's a fuckboy and raped her, and they gave her Tanza tea right there.
First off, that girl who was like,
I recognized her. I didn't
recognize her, but she killed it. Like that scene was really hard to watch. She was like hyperventilating and like. And I was just like, maybe like I was so pro Allison. I was even able to see past her little freak out last episode where she grabs a knife. Like it's understandable if your kid gets hurt, but here just straight up covering up a rape, like that is so fucked up. Like you can't be pro Allison after that. I don't know.
Yeah, now it goes against what you said, like what you've been saying, like, oh, she's really like standing. She's just following the book. Or like the law. She's pretty black and white, like whatever is right she is thinking. Now we get some gray of Allison. Now we get some
I can't make that argument anymore at all if somebody says, what about the time when she covered with rape, and I just have no leg to stand on anymore. So yeah, Allison's just a bad person. I think the next scene is she goes to see Aegon, and he's just like the worst about it. Like doesn't give a fuck, doesn't care.
I mean,
His wife comes in.
What's her?
It's the nanny. It's the fucking nanny. Because Helena comes in at the end and is like, "Hey, where's the nanny? She's supposed to take care of the kids today."
Right.
And Allison's just like, "Oh my fucking god."
What's Allison's obsession of pulling the covers off of? She just wants to see Aegon's butt.
I mean, your mom never pulled I mean, I didn't sleep
Not when
naked.
I was butt-ass naked. Or...
I didn't sleep naked. My mom would pull the covers off me when I wouldn't get out of bed for school in the morning.
I don't think my mom. I think she just gave me a little nudge on the shoulder to get me up. Or
I was bad in the morning. I was bad. Yeah, sometimes I had to pour water. Maybe
I've tried to wake you up, but you're not fun.
Yeah.
So it's just more of Aegon just being a dickhead. It's the same Aegon that was jerking off out the window. He's like, what the fuck does it matter? Like, I don't even know what day it is today. What's going on?
Yeah, not good.
She gives him some pretty harsh words here.
Allison, what'd she say?
You're no son of mine.
Yeah, that's straight to Tywin. That's 100% a Tywin quote to Tyrion. You are no son of mine.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't make, like, you can't say that if you're the mother.
It doesn't really hit. Yeah, I mean.
It just doesn't make sense if you're the mother. Like, what do you mean? You would know if this dude came out of you or not.
But I think it's more like you're not acting like the son I raised type of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, Aemond either. Like, Aemond at the end, she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're ruining this. Like, I don't... Whatever Allison's plan is, her kids definitely aren't helping her.
There's a difference between you and me being spoiled because, like, I feel like it's way easier for me to be spoiled. For example, I saw one thing about this episode. I saw Aemon holding the cup up, and I was like, "We're gonna get the strong toast," because I've read the book, so I know there's a time where Aemon toasts.
I knew this too. I see. Unfortunately,
well, you saw him holding the cup up, but how do you know that that's him being a dickhead? You know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what he's saying in that scene, like word for word.
Because I was curious and I read it. Somebody spoiled me, but it's still cool. Like, I was like, oh shit, cool. oh shit, when's Amy gonna do it? When's Amy gonna do it? Yeah.
We'll get there. The next scene is Alicent with Daemon and Rhaenyra in Viserys' room. Right. And they're like, what the fuck? You're poisoning our boy. Like, what? Yeah. And she's like, the Maesters are taking care of him. Yeah, and Rhaenyra's like, oh, the Maesters. Like, Rhaenyra even calls out the Maester conspiracy here. She's like, oh, fuck the Maesters. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The Maesters in your pockets, just like the Faith of the Seven. I see you've replaced all of our dragon statues with your... That's
Daemon. Daemon's like, what the fuck is that? Where's all our Targaryen shit?
And Viserys, or not Viserys, Rhaenyra mentions it when they walk in. Like, man, I wish you could say I missed it, but I barely even recognize this place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, gotcha.
But is that all that happens? Or, like, stop poisoning the king, and then they leave? Or is it just, like, good to see you type shit?
There's, like, some backhanded, like, threats at the end is how it ends, I think. Like, oh, I'll be, like, Allison says, like, I'll be the one sitting on council tomorrow, me and my father or whatever. But don't worry, I'll forget what you said just now about accusing me of poisoning the king. Like, she's like being backhanded.
I'll judge with the father, and then we get Otto on the throne. Oh no, we get Rhaenys and Rhaenyra out at the
Jace and Luke in the yard.
Oh, cool scene.
They're just like chilling. Jace is
everyone's looking at him.
And Luke is like, what the fuck? And Jace doesn't acknowledge it, but what he could have said is like, I'm the heir to the Iron Throne. Like, that's why they're looking at me. He's I'm the heir. Like,
it just gives off the vibes that Jace is like, fuck it. Like, I am the heir. Whatever they think of me. Like, if they want to say whatever they want, I'm still the heir and they can fuck off. I think he's accepted whatever it is. He's like, all right, fine. I can't change it.
Well, I think it's kind of like what Rhaenyra told him, right? When he's like, is Harwin Strong my father? Am I a bastard? She's like, you're a Targaryen. That's all that matters. Right. And I think he agrees to that at that point. I don't know if Jace has gotten that talk yet.
I don't know if he agreed to it at that point, but I definitely think he's at that point now. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point.
And Luke is just...
Yeah, and Luke, hasn't maybe got that conversation yet. I mean, even in the last episode, again, there's been a big time jump, but in the last episode, when Aemon says like, Lord Strong, or you're gonna die burning like your father. Luke's like, what do you mean? My father's still alive. Yeah. And Aemon's like, oh, he doesn't know. So then Luke didn't know. I think it's a very big stretch to think he doesn't know now after the whole Alicent stabbing Rhaenyra and stuff. But like, I don't know. This is probably the first time where they've been like outside of Dragonstone. You know what I mean? Like since that occasion.
Sure.
Where since he's known, people have
and like people
in a
looking
public
at
environment.
Exactly. You know what's one thing I wanted to say? Like Dragonstone and Driftmark look like shitty castles to have because it looks like there's no subjects. Like there's no room for like where are your people that are out like farming and shit like that? Like Driftmark is on a rock.
So
Dragonstone is on a
it.
rock.
If you pay, there's only 1 or 2 shots in the season so far, but they show it. Driftmark, in the books, they talk about how Driftmark's on a peninsula, and when the tide rises, or high tide. So Driftmark's the island, high tide is the castle, and when high tide comes in, you can't get to the island. Like literally, like the way that like the horses go gets like covered with water, and you can only get there during low tide. But on the other side of like the peninsula, there's a town. There's 2 towns called. It's one
that calls the Driftmark.
One's called Spice Town, and there's 2 big like cities on Driftmark. One's called Spice Town, and one's called
whatever.
I forget what the other one's called. But yeah, like in they have shown it in 1 or 2 shots. They've shown like people walking out like this peninsula, but on like the very right, like some townhouses.
What about Dragonstone? Like
Dragonstone also has like a city, kind of like Wintertown. Like you know how in the books Winterfell has Wintertown around it, but they never show it. And it's the same thing with Dragonstone.
Yeah,
like there's like a little town around there in the books, but
all right. So the Yard, Aemon just fucking up
Kristen Cole.
I thought
this doesn't make sense.
point,
They're using real maybe
steel.
Aemon's sword is blunted, but like they would have helmets on. Like in Christian's Cole, I couldn't 100% tell.
Swinging a Morning Star like that or a mace, whatever.
Maybe it's just a ball, but even then, like Aemon needs to have a helmet on.
If it's a steel ball, you're gonna get fucked up.
Aemon needs a helmet on. Yeah, exactly.
Unless they're dancing, unless it was like, all right, I won't hit you. Just keep dodging.
And again, like, I don't know how you show that you're using training weapons instead. You know what I mean? But like, and maybe it's just me because I'm like, I've read so much of these books and I know like the realistic of it. But like, it takes me out of it for a second. Like, I'm like really into it. Like, I'm buying everything. And then all of a sudden, Christian Cole's swinging an actual Morning Star at the prince's head without a helmet on. And I'm like, okay, this is a TV show again. Just for a second. Like, I'm not like saying it ruins the episode or anything like that. But there has to be like, if they show him with like a wooden Morning Star, it doesn't make the scene any less badass. You know what I mean? Like, it's still cool that Aemon wins.
For sure. Because it's still going to be pretty heavy. And we've seen people get fucked up with wooden.
Yeah. And Aemon still beats like...
Jon Snow was fucking people up with a wooden sword and like a fake shield.
Exactly. And I think the whole point of the scene isn't like, oh, look at these guys risking their lives. It's Aemon as a prince is getting good as fuck with a sword almost to the point of a Kingsguard. Like, he beat a Kingsguard.
Aemon's ready to fuck some shit up.
Like, Aemon's a bad. The point Aemon's a badass. And you can show that with Christian having a wooden Morning Star. I don't know. Whatever. It was a cool scene either way.
For sure. Kristen, for a second, I thought they recasted him because there was a Kingsguard guy that looked a little bit older with brown hair. And I was like, oh, fuck, did Kristen get older? Did they recast him? But then it's that same little twat.
Yep.
And this is when Aemon little line to Luke and Jace, like, oh, my nephews, are you here to train? Like, I'm about to fuck you up. That's what he really wanted to do. Like, let's train right now, and I'm about to take you to school. But then Vaemon walks in.
That's when Vaemon comes in. And I will say, when he's getting escorted in, there's guards all around him.
Yeah.
And they have Hightower
sigils, yeah.
There's some with the Valerion, but there's also some with Hightower.
I saw the Hightower ones. I did see that.
He's already team Hightower, like walking in here. Yeah.
All right, what's next? Is it Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, or is it
Otto, Alicent, and Vaemon in the small council?
Okay.
And this is kind of where you learn, like, here's why Alicent and Otto care about this. Right, like whoever wins this succession of Lord of Driftmark
is going to have the Navy.
It's not just like a cat. It's not like who gets Rosby. You know what I mean? It's like this is the
They don't
Navy.
give a shit about Driftmark or anything.
Exactly. And it's going to be Vaemon is like, hey, if you give it to me, if shit goes down, which it looks like it's gonna,
we will be at your side. And that's all that needed to be said.
And he's like, if it goes to Jace, whose side do you think it's gonna, or if it goes to Luke, whose side do you think it's gonna be? Yeah, exactly.
And then we get Rhaenyra doing some politicaling. Is that the word? Politicking? Rhaenyra politicking out at the Godswood, which is kind of weird. There's been a little bit of Face of the Seven, like more of an emphasis on the Face of the Seven here, but then you get Rhaenys, the first thing that she's kind of looking back at is this Godswood, and we've seen Rhaenyra at this a bunch throughout this first season too. Like, are they claiming a little bit more of the old gods? Like,
it'd be interesting to see, like go back after the season's over and look at what scenes did they decide to put in front of this heart tree?
Yeah. Well,
because like it doesn't really make sense why anything that we've seen in the story so far should be old gods related.
Right.
The only family that's kind of old godsy is like the Strongs. That doesn't like even really matter.
Right.
I mean, Larry's was in one scene here, but like, there's been a ton of scenes here, like a lot of Allison and Rhaenyra scenes. I feel like, especially.
I mean, I guess
Rhaenyra.
it's worth being said that a Targaryen or a Blackfire, whatever he was, becomes Bloodraven. Like,
what do you mean that he was? Oh, Bloodraven was both of those. Yeah.
blood. So, but yeah, no, I mean, definitely some crazy scenes. I mean, you get Allison questioning Rhaenyra if she had sex with Daemon. You got Kristen Cole about to off himself. You know, a lot of crazy moments.
You know, a crazy one. If you like thinking back, there's a scene early on, might be episode 1, where like Allison and Rhaenyra are like friends, and Allison's like studying with Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra's got her hair out.
It's like the first scene. It's like Rhaenyra's first scene.
And Rhaenyra's like, I don't want it. I don't want any power. Like, she's like, I hope my mother gives birth to a son.
Right.
Like, Allison's like, oh, you're probably so conflicted right now. And Rhaenyra's like, no, I just want everyone to be happy.
And this is when she was like, I just want to fly around with you.
And eat cake. And I thought about this, like, after the fact, but, like, Christian Cole gave you this out. Like, fuck Christian, I don't like him anymore. But he gave you the out. Like, he gave you the let's go around the world and eat cake. Like, you had that option.
Well, at that point, she was already in on the Song of Ice and Fire. She had a duty. Which again,
that comes back up.
It becomes a huge part of this episode, and I'm sure
it's actually, they bring up the next scene. So let's get through this one, the Godswood ones or anything. So basically, Rhaenyra clearly feels guilty about the Laenor thing. I thought she was going to tell her. I thought Rhaenyra was going to tell.
Hey, he's alive. No, you can't do that.
Because again, in the books, he's basically dead. So like anything about Laenor is free game for the show. I have no idea what's going to happen. I thought she was going to be like, okay, don't tell anyone.
I don't think we're ever going to see him again. I don't even know if they'll ever really speak of him again soon.
So I've seen one people have a problem, and that's his dragon. Like, the thing in the books with like when a dragon rider dies, you can kind of take that.
That's
dragon
what I said.
over.
I was like, "What happens to Seasmoke?" I think I said that in that podcast was like, I don't.
Yeah, you probably did.
I was like, "Is Bela going to get Seasmoke now?" Which we haven't had that answered. I think you know, and you're not telling me, which is fine.
Well, if they give Bela Seasmoke. Again, the thing is, the show and the books are different at this point. But if they give Bela Seasmoke without like tying up something with Laenor, like if they give anybody Seasmoke without tying something up with Laenor, then like there's a huge discrepancy. Right? Like what we know from the books is the dragon cannot have another rider until its rider
while
is
it's
dead.
alive. Like the connection's got to be stronger to know that Laenor's still alive, right?
So to your point, I'm totally cool. Like I like the ending for Laenor, but if they want to bring Seasmoke back into the story. In my mind, they need to do something. They need to actually kill. They need to actually kill Laenor. In my mind, yeah. Or else, again, the show and books are different at this point. They could just say that's not a rule in the show.
Yeah.
So who knows? But yeah,
it seems like you said, this director is kind of a nerd though, so I feel like that would be a detail that they would try to keep.
I would agree. Last thing in the Godswood scene is
the marriage proposal, and Rhaenys basically saying like, nah, fuck you.
I think you said this. I think you guessed this 100% last episode. That I think you said one of Daemon's kids gets married to at least one of Rhaenyra's kids.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because I remember I said like, that's so weird because they got married. You can't have the kids getting married when the dads got married, and you're like, that happens in the real world all the time.
Yeah, exactly. What was weird about it was that why does Rhaenyra have to ask permission to Rhaenys? One, there's two of her kids and two of Daemon's kids. Like, fuck Rhaenys. Like, where does she have the authority to say yes or no?
So I 100% get that. The reason I think it would be important to ask Rhaenys, and actually the thing that I think that makes the least sense out of this whole episode, and again, it doesn't like I can see the argument is Vaemond, once he hears about the marriage, should be fine, right? His whole argument is my line. Like kind of like I was arguing last time. My line, blood-wise, because me and you had this argument like what matters more, blood or name. Corley says name. Our name will live forever. He gives a fuck if our blood's there. Yeah. Vaemond is clearly the opposite stance. It matters way more if it's actually us or not.
Yeah, and the girls have his blood.
So once he hears about the marriage, he flips out and yells about bastards after that. So yes, for one generation, Driftmark will be ruled by a guy who has no Valyrian blood. But the year after that, the kids have Valyrian blood again.
I think the point is that once Luke is on that throne, it's tainted. And everything that Luke touches after that is tainted. So it doesn't matter that Bela or Rhaena, whichever one he was marrying, it doesn't matter. Like, once, like, that's the worst thing that could happen, is that this bastard child is now at our seat. And he was like, fuck it, I'm surprised it took that long for his head to get chopped off. But
I 100% agree with what you're saying he thought. And I think it's clear that that's what he thought, because at the beginning, he basically tells Ray, like, what the very first scene when they're talking about like who's going to become the heir after Corlys,
right.
Doesn't Rhaenys say like me? Like or Baela says that. Like Baela says Rhaenys says, like the wife.
Right.
She was going to be queen of the fucking Seven Kingdoms.
Right.
You don't think she'd be queen? And Daemon's like, no, it's got to be a man. So the reason he might have a problem is because he's still all like men have to be the leader type thing. So as soon as it passes to Jace, it doesn't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck who his wife is. That doesn't matter. It matters what the male line is, right? It seems like Daemon's one of those type of guys.
Sure. So did you think Rhaenys was gonna put politic for herself in this deal? Would she have said like, I should be the Driftmark ruler?
Again, it's one of the things where in the books you're 100% right, and I don't think Rhaenys, I might be wrong with this, but I don't think Rhaenys has anything to do with this marriage. I think it's just Daemon and
it doesn't make any sense for her to have a say.
I think Daemon and Rhaenyra might set this up like while Daemon is still while they're still married to Laenor and Laena. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think the betrothal happens like while Laena and Laenor are both still alive.
In Pentos. Again, it makes sense for what their goals are at the end of keeping. Again,
that's a small nitpick, but I like the whole like getting Rhaenys involved because it eventually becomes up to her.
It adds a lot to the throne room then. That's because you're like, oh shit, Viserys cares about what she's about to say, what's she about to say, and for her to really switch up. We already said it. Like, I don't want to skip through the throne room scene because I think it is really cool. Viserys walking in was a goated scene. Like, the guy had one last thing to do, and he stood up for Rhaenyra, which he's done time and time again. But he kind of let it up for discussion when he brings Rhaenys into it, and not like pretty much like, all right, fuck off, Vaemon, kind of fuck off, Rhaenyra. Like, relax here. Rhaenys, what do you have to say? And Rhaenys backing up. Do you think she did that just because she knew, like, she knew her cousin Viserys was going to stand up for Rhaenyra, and that no matter where she actually wanted to in that moment in the throne room with Viserys present, it was going to be Rhaenyra, so she chose Rhaenyra.
I see what you're saying. I don't think so. I think she didn't hate Rhaenyra's idea from the get-go. I don't think she likes Rhaenyra at all because she does think Rhaenyra killed Laenor. But I think when Rhaenyra proposed that idea, Rhaenys was like, this is it's kind of like, you know, in Ricky Bobby when he's got his arm, he's down on the pool table and he's got his arm down. He's like, just say you like crepes. Or say you like very thin pancakes. He's like, I'm not going to say I like crepes. Say you like very thin pancakes.
Right.
And he's like, it's a good compromise. I think Rhaenyra's like, yeah, it is a good compromise. You know what I mean? She's like, she's standing up. She's like, yeah, I do like very thin pancakes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like French people, but I like very thin pancakes. It's kind of like, that's how I kind of see that. She's not letting her arm get broken.
I still don't trust her. I don't know what Rhaenys is up to now, because I think she does really like Laena's children.
Let me say what last thing is. In the last episode, when Corlys and her have that conversation, he's like, legacy is all that matters. Names are all that matters. What she's pushing for is, fuck Luke. It should go to Baela.
Right.
She's like, they're actually our blood. So to her, I think that's the argument.
It's kind of a win-win.
It's like what I said about Vaemon. Like, why isn't Vaemon happy about this? And I think, like, he's not happy because of the male thing. But Rhaenys doesn't have that problem.
I think he was selfish. I think he had a little second son deal. He just wanted a little bit of clout.
And Daemon calls him out on it, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like, some of this stuff I knew was going to happen, and I knew Daemon was going to be the one to kill Vaemon. So, like, I knew, like, he, like, in the throne room was like, okay, he's going to speak out. Viserys is going to call for his head. And I was like, how the fuck is it going to be Daemon and not a Kingsguard? Now that it's happened, let me tell you how it happens in the books. And I see why they didn't do it, because they didn't want Rhaenyra and Daemon to seem as much bad guys. But what happens in the books is basically after they get word of what Vaemon said to Rhaenys, Rhaenyra is just like, Daemon, go kill that guy. And Daemon kills him and feeds him to Syrax.
That's pretty dope.
Maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler, but when they showed his body with the Silent Sisters and Rhaenys is standing there, I'm like, what is the point of this? You know that scene I'm talking about? Where Rhaenys is,
absolutely.
I'm like, why are they showing his body if they're like, are they like, is she going to steal it and feed it to like, why else show his body if not?
And was Rhaenys there because she was mad at him, or was she sad for him? Like,
I didn't get that scene. I thought it had to do with him getting fed to a dragon, but they didn't show it. I doubt they're going to come back to it next episode.
Yeah.
They drop everything from episode to episode. So
I was waiting for Viserys to just be like, all right, off with this guy's head. Like, what the fuck's he doing? Like, this is treason. And all he did was he was going to cut his tongue out. He was going to let him live. Yeah, I don't like that. It's the first guy that's openly yelled, like, that kid's a bastard. Like, he should have been head on a spike in a second.
So I'll explain how I think they took what was all I think was cool in the books and made it cooler. So in the books, what happens is in the last episode where Alicent kind of freaks out and like there's the whole debate about like who's this, and they call, and basically like Aemon and Aegon have called Jace and Luke bastards. During that whole ordeal, Viserys says, and he might have said it in the last episode too, anyone who says this again gets their tongue cut out, period. I don't give a fuck who you are. I think he did say that in the last episode.
Okay.
Or in the books, what happens is Vaemon does that. When Rhaenyra gets word, she's like, Daemon, go kill his ass. Daemon kills his ass, feeds him to the dragon. But and in the books, Vaemon is Corlys's oldest nephew.
Right.
But again, it's the same concept. Like, I'm the closest blood to, it's the same. They made him a brother.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Easier to understand. So he gets killed by Daemon, but there's a bunch of other cousins or nephews, right? And they all flee Driftmark immediately. They're like, fuck, we're going to die. And like, they don't say how many there are. I assume like 3 or 4. They go to King's Landing and they're like, Viserys, here's the deal. And he cuts all their tongues out.
Oh, fuck.
Right. So he cuts out like 4 tongues of like 4 different, or however many, several tongues of people who are claiming this after Daemon like just killed Vaemon. And Viserys is like, no, I don't give a fuck that he killed them. I don't give a fuck that he killed it. Like, he deserved it for what he said. Now your tongues are out too. Wow. So that's how it goes in the books. It makes Rhaenyra and Daemon seem more ruthless. It makes Viserys seem a little more ruthless. Yeah. I like what they did in the show. They get the exact same point across. For sure. It's way more badass.
Dude, and the cleanest cut we've ever seen.
So bad. It's a really steel sword. Dark Sister,
little fucking tongue hanging out.
Yeah.
That was
like,
awesome.
Dave was like, he can keep his tongue.
Man.
I will say, we skipped over 2 short scenes. One with Viserys in the bed, and Rhaenyra goes up and she's like,
begging,
the song
please
Ice and
help
Fire.
Me. Please help me. Yeah, right.
Before that, they sung Ice and Fire. Like, is it real? And he, again, does this give you any call? Does this remind you of anything from the Song of Ice and Fire books at all? Like, we're one of our POV characters right now.
Are you saying like Dany?
No. Nope. Who has a father who is like bedridden and saying crazy stuff.
Cat.
And people misinterpret it.
Cat.
Yeah. It's a cat hospital. To me, this is
what
a cat
does cat misinterpret, though? I don't remember what.
The Tansy tea thing. And then Alicent misinterprets the Aegon Prince was promised, right? I don't know if Cat misinterprets it and like acts on it in any significant way.
She was just like confused. She's confused by
it. Yeah, she's confused by it.
Alicent's like, oh shit, all right, let's kill. I got this. Aegon's gonna be the king.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead again, so let's go back. But yeah, so here Rhaenyra is basically saying A Song of Ice and Fire doesn't matter, and he's like, doesn't give it a straight answer. He doesn't give a straight answer, right? He's just super fucked up.
Yeah.
The next scene is he's with the Maesters the next day. You see him; he looks like Christian Bale from The Machinist, missing the arm.
I've never seen the movie, but he's all fucked up for sure.
I've never seen the movie either, but I've seen pictures of Christian Bale. You're a huge Batman fan. How have you?
I know he lost a bunch of weight for the movie.
Yeah, so
he looked bad, man. It was hard to look at.
Yeah, he's rough, and he's like, "I want supper," and Otto's like, "It's breakfast.
It's breakfast, brother. Come on, it's breakfast. What are you talking about?"
Which is funny because it's just like he clearly is normally so out of it that he doesn't even know what time of day it is, but like he does know right now. Like he's got his shit together because Rhaenyra showed up and Daemon showed up.
Yeah, it's game time. He was a gamer.
Here. Yeah,
he's got half a leg right now, and he's showing up to the game.
Yeah. So we got to the throne room scene. We've talked about a lot of it. Vaemon talks first. Rhaenyra starts to talk, and that's when Viserys shows up. And I was freaked out. I was like, hands in the air. I was fired up.
I wasn't that fired up, but I was like, damn, that's awesome.
And he that walk reminds me of something. That like weird like old man hobble. That reminds me of like I feel like I've seen like a weird like
I don't know. I don't have anything.
I feel like it's like an evil person though. Like it's like a bad guy who normally hobbles like that. But you just feel bad for him. And he starts to fall down.
Carried this guy in. Like it was cool that he walked. It's cool that he walked. I think it was important that he walked. I do think it was important that he walked. He was like, I'm still fucking here. I'm still the king. I'm fucking ruling today.
Well, that's when I started to tear up. Is that when he tells the Kingsguard, no, I don't fucking need your help.
Yeah.
And then there's another person and he like goes to say no.
Yeah.
And
it was
it's
obviously
fucking Daemon. It's gotta be
Daemon. I knew it was gonna be Daemon.
That was like that was a cool moment. Yeah, that was an awesome moment. takes him up to the throne room. He sits down, just looking badass. Like his whole get up is badass. He looks like an old.
The gold mask is cool.
Gold mask, like hunchback, like black and gold cape. I don't know, black and red cape. One arm. I think he looks bad. Dragon cane. You can't really see it in the throne room, but when he's at dinner, you can see his cane is just like dragon's head.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool as fuck.
All right, and then supper. Super weird feast. I mean, it's like awkward as fuck. Awkward as fuck.
Yeah, it's not really a feast. It's like in the books, it's described as a feast because, and again, like in the books,
a pig comes out. They put a big. They just never get to eat. They never got past the fucking appetizer. But all right, so Viserys again, comes in, gives his. If he's anything, he's a caring guy. He speaks from the heart. He's like, look, motherfuckers, help me. Stop fighting. I love you all. Do this for me. And for a second, they fake it. They fake it enough for him.
I don't know if they're faking it. You think you think Rhaenyra is faking what she said about Alicent?
No, I think it's true.
I think her and Alicent were ready to make amends. I don't think it ever would have worked out. I don't know
about amends, but I would say like to each its own. Like we can kind of stop fighting, but we're not going to be friends type of thing.
Alicent called her queen. I thought like if it wasn't for Otto or the kids, there was like a chance there that Rhaenyra and Alicent are like cool after this. But Aegon pushes it, and I don't know. That's kind of how I took it. Yeah, Viserys basically says like, "I love everyone. I'm so glad my whole family's here." It's like Thanksgiving dinner. Like you guys don't like you guys, but we're all here. I love you all. Figure it out. He takes off his mask, and you're like, I was like,
what the fuck? What the fuck is eating away at your face? I need to know what is the disease? What is it?
I think it's leprosy. I don't know what leprosy is.
They don't tell us that. It's not confirmed.
Ace said he knew what it was, but I don't know where he like got that information. But like, I think it's leprosy.
It's just eating away at his body. Dude, I thought he was gonna leave his face uncovered the whole time. I'm like, no one wants to look at. No, he puts his mask back on. I'll bet you $1 million right now that when he sits back down, Alicent puts his mask back on.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they were about to eat dinner, I'd be like, "Yo, Grandpa, put your mask on. I don't want to see your back of your skull."
Yeah, he's not wearing it when he's in bed later. He doesn't have cloth on it, right?
No.
Like when Alicent's there.
No, he doesn't have anything. But when he sits back down, like he's all kind of fucked up, Alicent puts it back on him.
So he does that. Rhaenyra gives her a toast, basically saying, "Alicent, like we haven't seen eye to eye, but you have taken good care of my dad."
Eye to eye, get the pun. Eye to eye.
But you've taken good care of my dad. I appreciate that. Like actually.
Yeah.
And Alicent says, I don't know what she says about. She's like, I've been rude to you.
She says you're gonna make a great queen.
You're gonna be a good queen. And Aegon stands up and goes over to get some wine and tells Baela that if she ever wants her to get fucked good, she can come to him.
You can come to my room.
Yeah.
And Helena says something weird here. She says like,
I have it written down.
Beast.
Jace slams the table and stands up. He's pissed. Yeah. And then everyone again, it's one of those things where like, how did no one hear what Aegon said except for Jace?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and Jace pounds the table, but like, oh no, I'm happy.
Yeah, everyone looks at Jace like he's pissed. And then Aemond also stands up. Like, Jace, what the fuck are you gonna do? I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, like I can't wait to fight you.
Yeah. And then Helena says, because beware the beast beneath the board. Pretty sure that's what she said.
I think she might have said floorboards, but
okay. Same thing.
It might have just been board. I don't know if they had floorboards, but
yeah.
Helena says something about Aegon, or like, congratulations to my cousins for getting married. It's not that bad because your husband will ignore you anyway.
Unless he's drunk. Which again just basically says that he's just coming in and fucking her whenever he's drunk.
He's an asshole.
He's the worst. Yeah, in front of everyone.
And they like laugh about it. They like giggle. Yeah. They're giggling. I think Viserys giggles at her.
They all know what that means. Everyone knows what that means. Yes. That he just.
And then Jace goes and dances with her. Like, I'll show you a thing or two.
So again, in the books, all we know is that once Viserys leaves, Aemon gives the speech, and then Jace tries to dance with Helena in a fight gets about to get kicked off.
It's opposite order.
Yeah, it kind of seems like exactly.
The dance is what struck it up, not the strong.
Well, nobody you're right that the dance is what kind of triggers the strong quote, but Aegon is what triggers the dance.
Right.
And Aegon is just not mentioned in the book.
Because Aegon is worthless.
Or like the Maesters didn't know that. Like nobody heard what Aegon said. So how would the Maesters know? Right. Again, it's one of those things.
So the strong deal goes.
Important thing, Viserys gets pulled out first. Viserys is not there when the strong...
I was like, there's no way he would have done it in front of him. So once he gets pulled out, I'm like, all right, shit's about to pop off. Let's go. And it does a little bit. You know, it's more Aegon and Jace, and the dance happens. Or he gets pulled out during the dance, right?
They're dancing.
And then Luke is just giggling. Luke is giggling at fucking one-eye Aemond across the table.
Yeah, you can tell he's like, yo, I took out that... Remember when I bitched that guy and took out his eye?
Remember when I sliced his face open?
Again, you don't know what they're saying, but that's kind of...
Well, there's not even words. They're not even words. They're just looking at each other. And then Luke, like, giggles. And, here we go. Aemond stands up, gives a speech. And, dude, Jace punches him, and I've never seen a punch get eaten like that in my life.
Have you seen me get punched?
Yeah, I've seen you get punched and crumble like a folding chair.
Once, but is that the only time you've ever seen me get punched?
I mean, with like fucking boxing gloves and like you're like biting on a towel and it was the littlest guy in the room. But it was almost like his chin didn't even move. Like he punched and like his face didn't move. It was like Superman getting punched.
It reminded me of that the clip where like Kobe's guarding the inbound defender at the baseline, and the guy like goes right into Kobe's face, and he just like doesn't even Kobe doesn't even flinch at all.
Matt Barnes and Kobe Bryant.
Mark Barnes, the one who. That's like, I don't know. I don't know who that is, but I know what the clip. Like Kobe just looks like the most cool dude ever because like there's not even the closest flinch, and the ball's like half an inch from his face. So badass.
But it was just like, holy fuck, like Aemon's really here for war. Like Aemon's ready for this thing.
Yeah. But then after that, and Daemon like kind of gets up in his face, doesn't say anything.
So I read something that, and I don't know if it's true. I don't even know if it's like mentioned to be something about like Daemon could be the father of Aemond.
I feel like I might have mentioned this in the last episode because the show has definitely not gone that route, but
or maybe you just told me.
Yeah. So
they look like brothers.
Yeah. In case I've said it already, I'll do the quick version. This show is based off Fire and Blood, which was written in 2020, but maybe 2018. But that book, Fire and Blood, or at least the Dance of the Dragons, like everything that this show is based on, was written about in 2013 and 2014 in two short stories that George R.R. Martin wrote called The Rogue Prince, which means Daemon, and The Princess and the Queen. The Rogue Prince is basically everything leading up to the dance, which is pretty much this season is a short story called The Rogue Prince. And in that, yes, there's some insinuation that maybe Daemon and Alicent were romantic. However, that was all cut of Fire and Blood. Yeah. Right? So like when George rewrote all the same material, that was pretty much taken out. However, a lot of fans thought like... Oh, wait,
in Fire and Blood, you're saying?
There's no hint that Daemon and Alicent were ever romantic in Fire and Blood. However, in the short stories that they're based on, like, there's only like 200 pages of Fire and Blood that are copy-pasted. Like, no edits at all from these short stories.
Yeah.
But they took out like 2 or 3 paragraphs here and there that hinted that Daemon and Alicent were romantic.
Interesting.
So it seems like maybe that was something that George was playing with for a while, but he's like, nah, I don't even want that to be a possibility anymore. So he took it out. But some fans thought that they were going to play with it. It
seemed like a weird standoff with these two.
Well, and when you see the casting, when fans saw the casting, they were like what you said. They're like, they look alike. They got to be. But yeah, it was like he like gets in his face and Daemon like kind of like he like walks by. I was like, holy fuck, like Aemond is so bald. Think about this. Aemond basically just said, "You're bastards," right? Yeah. And what happened to the last person that said "you're bastards" to these guys?
Well, I mean, at least
Daemon cut his fucking head off, and Daemon gets up in this guy's face. And I'm like, holy fuck, is Daemon gonna pull a sword on this boy? You know what I mean? Like,
it's a little bit different because they call him strong. Like I said, like, all right, you're strong. Like I get obviously we get the insinuation, but
he takes it further though when he says like, "Aemon, why would you say that?" He's like, I'm proud of my family. I assume they would be too. Like. Like saying like what I'm saying about strongs, like,
but again, like they're saying that you could say like if someone's strong as an adjective, like he's obviously saying it as a pronoun.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's a pronoun.
Whatever.
Again,
we know what you're saying.
it was just weird that they ended like. So now I'm thinking because Aegon's kind of a bitch in my mind. He doesn't look like he's ready for a fight at all. It doesn't even look like he's been to the art to train. Is Aemon going to be like lead war? Like, is he taking control of the green battle side? Is he going to be on Vhagar? He's maybe the best fighter of them all. Like, he's going to be versus Daemon.
He's on Vhagar, yeah.
He's on Vhagar, Daemon on Craxes, and is this like the new, like, all right, we're going nose to nose, Daemon versus Aemon.
That'd be badass.
Yeah. So then they leave.
Before they leave, Alicent and Rhaenyra have this conversation where, again, it feels like they're trying to save this friendship.
Yeah, I do agree with you. It kind of was. It was like they maybe missed each other. Or they're all right. Like, all right, let's get this. Let's figure this thing out.
Except the last part, I think could be taken two ways. Right? Rhaenyra says, "I'm going to take the kids home. I'll return on Dragonback," which I think could be taken as like, "Oh, I'll be back," like friendly wise, or as a threat. Like you could just say, "Oh, I'll be back." But by saying I'll be back on Dragonback is like I'll be fucking back with blood and fire. And when Alicent says, "Oh, the king and I would like that," it could be taken as, "Oh, and me and Viserys would like that," or it could be taken as, "Oh, me and Aegon would like that." Like fucking bring it, bitch.
No, I don't think
That's
so.
how I took it, as a double meaning both ways. That's how I took it.
Maybe. I just think it was more of a timing thing. Like, all right, like I'll take them back and then I'll fly back, so I hear a lot quicker.
When she says on. I get it, but she says the way she said, I don't know. Watch it again and tell me it doesn't sound like a threat. It sounds like a little bit of a half threat both ways.
But they have dragons, so I don't see the threat.
Aegon has a dragon, and when Alicent says in replies, "Oh, me and the king will enjoy that," and what I'm implying is she's the nice way could be, "Oh, me and Viserys would love for you to come back," but the aggressive way is if you're saying you're going to come back with war.
But it's just like it's a stupid threat because they have dragons too. It's not that's like saying like, oh, next time I'm coming back, I'm bringing a gun when they have guns right next to them too. Like, all right, fuck it, well, we'll shoot you.
And that's what Alicent says. Is like, okay, yeah, the king would like that. Like, it's like if Viserys didn't have a gun.
The king wouldn't like that. The king is fucking drinking and Aegon.
Yeah, okay. You're saying Aegon. Okay. I thought you meant Viserys when you said the king.
Viserys is hallucinating.
To your gun analogy, it's like if Rhaenyra had a gun and Aegon had a gun, but Viserys didn't, and Rhaenyra's like, okay, I'll be back with my gun, and Alicent's like, oh, the king will love that. It's like, well, which king are you talking about? The one who doesn't have the gun or the one who does? Because the one who does might not mind.
I see what you're saying, but I just didn't get that vibe at all, okay, and I think it's a pretty empty threat because they have guns too.
I got you. The way I took it, I guess, was I think Alicent was kind of trying to extend that olive. So Rhaenyra extended the olive branch first with like the actual genuine nice toast. And I think this is Alicent being like, hey, my son's a dick, but I still like don't let that fuck up what we just kind of got back together. And Rhaenyra's like, I don't think she's straight up saying like, no, fuck you, I'm going to come back and start like firing blood. But I think she's like, hey, this can go two ways. It's kind of how she's saying it.
I didn't feel that at all.
Okay, but cool. Agree to disagree. The next scene is Mysaria, right? So the girl in white. And there's a hooded figure coming up to her. And I wrote in my notes Daemon and Mysaria, but it's not Daemon.
Right. It's funny. I saw a funny picture of Daemon with his hood up, and it's like anytime Daemon has his hood up, he's doing some fuckboy. He's doing some fuckboy shit.
I've seen there's the Kermit the Frog meme, but I think it's supposed to be a Star Wars meme.
That's Palpatine.
It's Palpatine, right? It's Kermit the Frog with the Palpatine hood.
Yeah.
I saw that, and it said anytime Daemon's doing up to something mischievous. Yeah. It was that.
He has a whole hooded outfit.
But exactly, like a hooded person's walking to Mysaria. I'm like, oh my god, Daemon's getting back together, and I was like,
with the white worm. Is it the white worm?
Yeah, the white worm. And I'm saying to myself, like, thank God, finally, Mysaria has to know about Aegon being a fuckwad, and she's gonna tell Daemon. Right? That's what I thought was gonna happen. But instead, it's the first half of that. It's her finding out that Aegon's a fuckwad, right?
Yeah, and who was this? This was a serving lady, right? Or
not the one that got raped, but the one that was like helping.
It's like the wet nurse one, or
Alicent's like right hand man. When the girl says, "I didn't tell anyone," to Alicent says, "You told Sir Eric, and you told me, and you told this other girl, Taina or Tysa or something like that." The only reason I know her name starts with T is because when Alicent and Larry's are in together in like episode 5 or whatever, episode 6, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she comes back, she's sitting there, and a girl comes in, and Alicent's like, "Not now, whatever. It's that same girl. People were like, I saw comments on Reddit saying like, why would they give this girl a name if she wasn't going to show up later? And she like, sure, I didn't think anything of it.
She's been showing up a bunch.
Sure enough, she showed up, and she's the one that's like Alicent's right hand man. She brings the tea,
and now
she's it seems like she's informing on Alicent. Exactly.
I think she's informing on just everything.
Well, yeah,
I think she informed on probably Aegon raping the girl and the strong toast, and she's just starting the rumor mill of whatever's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm assuming that's very soon. Rhaenyra's side. What I'm guessing is going to happen from this is very soon. Rhaenyra's side, like, is going to learn about Aegon being a dickwad, and that he's like raping girls.
I don't know. I mean, I guess they introduced that for a reason. I
don't know either. That's I don't think this is in the books. If it is, I don't remember. I'm guessing that like the fact that Mysaria talked to the girl who knows about the rape, and Mysaria was friends with Daemon. I'm guessing Daemon's going to get this info, and then maybe somehow try and fuck over the Greens with that.
Maybe, yeah. If the White Worm is in fact still friends with Daemon and working with him, that would make sense to me too.
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, damn, why are we seeing this girl again? But I guess she plays a bigger part than I expected. So, is it the last scene then?
Yep. Viserys and Alicent.
Viserys goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, fuck, man. This is what fucks it all up. This is, like, I do believe what you're saying. Alicent might have been able to, like, bury the hatchet and say, like, all right, fuck it. Like, let's move on from here. But now she has this prophecy and, like, oh, I know what I have to do. And back to war, back to fighting, just like that.
Yeah, it's one of the things where, again, I don't remember what episode it was, the one with the hunt, where they go on the hunt. There's a scene where Alicent and Viserys are by a fire, and Viserys is pretty drunk. Remember this?
Right.
And he's like...
Right. Yeah. And he's basically saying...
Like, there was once where I thought Aegon... Where I was going to name Aegon heir. He's like, I thought I should have done it. I had this dream or whatever. And Alicent's like, oh, you're crazy. Shut the fuck up. After that scene, I saw a lot of theories in the fandom of people who had read the books saying like, oh, maybe Viserys is going to bring this up again, like when he's really sick, and say to Alicent, like, you know what? I fucked up. I had that dream about putting Aegon on the throne, and I fucked up, and I want you to actually do it. You know what I mean?
That's what sparks
it. And I always thought that was a really bullshit excuse. Like, I don't know. I think, like, Viserys has seemed so hardcore, like, no, fuck you. Yeah. My decision is final.
Rhaenyra.
That I didn't like that idea at all. But here, I love it. Like, I love the way they basically...
As a mistake, as a fucking sick, probably hopped up on milk of the poppy mistake. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I thought it was phenomenal.
They pulled off the exact same outcome that I hated, where basically Viserys tells Alicent, I want you to pursue this path.
Right.
I just, like, if he just told her that, like, it's a bad decision. Like, the guy who doesn't want conflict telling Alicent that, like, is going to start conflict, and he would know that. But here, he does it like it's an accident. Like, he thinks he's talking to Rhaenyra. And I don't know. I think the way they pulled it off is really cool. I really was against the theory that people had, like, oh, he's gonna back out last second and choose. He doesn't
I think that would be bad as well. It'd be stupid, especially after he just made this big ass effort to walk through the throne room when everyone knows he probably can't even fucking walk or see or do anything, and he did that for Rhaenyra. To just like double back would be stupid. Oh my god! I was like, oh my god, he's gonna do it. He's gonna fuck it up. Yeah, and he did.
I will say the last thing, when he got on the throne, and the first thing he said is like, why the fuck are we here? I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you. Like, I
mean, it's kind of like what Beesbury was saying. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is a non-issue. Like, there's a pecking order. It's already set in place.
Like, we decided this problem already.
It's like we're finding work to do because we're bored. Like, let's just talk about shit that's already been decided.
Yeah.
He was a king first. I mean, he might not be worthy, and that's why he's all fucking cut up and shit. But
I've been saying it the whole time. People say Viserys is a weak king because he doesn't make decisions. I completely disagree. Viserys made decisions. People just didn't like them and then kept pretending like they weren't like final.
Right. Like they were still up in
like
the
he's
air.
like, hey, Rhaenyra is the heir, and he's like, and they're like, wait, but what about this? And he's like, no, Rhaenyra is the heir. And like, well, what about this?
But you have a son.
And he's like, what
now.
are you talking about? Like, no, I made this decision. It's like, I'm not wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of wishy-washy. You guys are the ones that are being dumb about it.
Nobody listened to him. That's what fucked it all up.
Yeah, so I don't know. Again, in the books, Viserys is made off to be like a Robert Baratheon king. Like, I'm just gonna fuck and whore and not necessarily whore, but I'm gonna fuck and drink and just have parties and feasts all the time. And Otto can run the kingdom, kind of like he does in this.
Right.
But again, like, I think what they did to him in the show is awesome. I really like it.
Yeah. So now Alicent has a newfound mission to get Aegon on the throne.
Yeah.
Because he's the prince's promise. Now we have two Aegons.
Aegon the Elder.
Aegon the Elder, Aegon the young boy.
Yep.
And Rhaenyra and Daemon and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. There's so many of them now. Like, they're just growing exponentially every episode. It's pretty cool.
There's like 4 characters that I was expecting to be in this episode that weren't in it yet, but I'm guessing that they're trying to, it would just be too much to put. Like, yeah. They gave us Aegon the Younger, and they gave us Viserys, like Rhaenyra's Viserys.
Second of his name.
Well, he's not a king, but Rhaenyra's Viserys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Viserys Targaryen, though.
You don't become second of your name unless you become king, though. Like, there's way more Aegons than
every Aegon was the prince.
Like Aegon the Fifth, like Egg, like Duncan Egg is Aegon the Fifth. He's but maybe the 20th Aegon, but he's the 5th Aegon to sit the Iron Throne. Yeah, I
gotcha. Prediction: I don't know how it's gonna pop off. I'm assuming that we're coming in on Viserys' funeral. If not, he's dying.
I will say, quick question. And I'm not going to tell you if you don't know. The episode titles were leaked like a while. Like, I knew all the episode titles before the season started. Do you know what the next episode's called?
Nope, not a clue.
Well, stay off Twitter then.
I'll try my best. I will try my best for sure. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I'll try not to see it, but it's about to pop off. I'm kind of curious of how Alicent's going to take this newfound mission. And, like, is she just going to go public and say, is she just going to do, like, a Ned Stark and be like, the kids are bastards, Rhaenyra's a whore, we can't follow her, Aegon's your rightful heir, let's go to work type of thing? Like, does she just write a letter to all the kingdoms? I don't know. I'm saying that's probably what she's going to do. And then Rhaenyra's just going to be like, I'm going to burn you to the fucking ground.
Yeah, fire and blood. Yeah, cool. We'll see next time. I will say it sucks that, like, they signed this show for season 2, but like they're starting filming in a few months, which means like we're not going to get this show till 2024. Like, so that's 2 years till we get season 2, right? Maybe a year and 9 months at the earliest. We're going to be through Storm of Swords, or most of Storm of Swords, like podcast wise by then. You will have gotten spoiled on a lot of the stuff from this, just from like.
What can you do?
I don't know. We're going to find out. We'll see.
I mean, I've already read Storm of Swords and I forgot about it, so maybe I'll just when we reread it, I'll just forget about it again.
That's true, maybe, but we'll see. And again,
but probably not.
Again, it's one of the things where knowing what happens doesn't spoil you. Like I was geeked up as fuck about this episode.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Like I said, I've been spoiled like about little things, like Aemon's gonna give a speech. Like I knew his speech, and like it's still cool to me. Like it's just not as surprising.
Yeah, exactly.
But good app. It's been a really fun show to watch so far.
I love this guy Ryan Condal, and again, I don't want to float this. I feel like we're just kind of rambling at this point, so we'll cut it quick. But I don't want to. I really like Ryan Condal, but I've also recently rewatched some of the season 1 episodes, and I can't imagine what it would have been like to have read Game of Thrones before you see that. I can't imagine that what I'm experiencing now, having read Fire and Blood before seeing this, and like having an awesome adaptation of Fire and Blood, like Game of Thrones is better. Like the first season of Game of Thrones is better. I'll say it. Like I love this show, but like compared to like a 1-to-1 adaptation, if you had read Game of Thrones and saw that TV show, you're
probably all geeked up. It's really good.
Like if there was one thing I could redo in my life, it would be I would never have watched Game of Thrones until I read the books, and I feel like the show would have been a million times better for me.
Maybe. I don't know.
But I don't know.
Well, the world will never know. So at that, I'm signing off.
Jeff stopped recording, but before I close the non-spoiler section, I will say next week Jeff will be at the Sunday Night Football game, so we're not going to be able to record Sunday night. We'll record Monday, put the podcast out Monday night. So Monday morning, you guys will get the regularly released Clash of Kings podcast, but you won't get the House of the Dragon podcast until Tuesday morning.
Bye.
Signing off. I have one thing to say before I'll sign off. But yep, bye, Jeff.
Bye.
See you, sir.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Okay, now that he's gone, don't have much to say. It's going to be less than a minute. Spoiler section. Helena, I haven't thought enough about what she's saying. The beast under the boards. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with blood and cheese, because like it's through sneaky tunnels, but I don't know, kind of vague. The biggest thing is the Aegon Daemon standoff. Jeff even said it, like the Aemon Daemon thing seems like there's something coming there. There is. It's going to be the coolest scene. If they pull that scene off, right, it's going to be the coolest scene. Like, I'm talking about the God's Eye, Aemon Daemon. If they pull it off, it's going to be the coolest scene that's ever happened in Game of Thrones. Like, it's not a question. I can't wait for it. Also, I mean, just like anything with Aemon, I'm so excited for it. Like, I can't wait for Storm's End. Like, Storm's End is happening. Storm's End has to happen episode 10. And I can't wait for it. I'm so excited. Yeah, that's all I have. I can't wait for Aemon Daemon. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next one.